Graphics Line Work Tool. So what is the line work tool? If we go to a sheet view, let's go to floor plan. We had talked previously about getting those skylights to come in so we can see them and there can be lines. Now we could just draw them in, but what we want to do is actually have the actual object, the skylight, so it's showing up. If there are any changes or anything like that, we want it to be showing up. So we can use a combination of an underlay and the line work tool. And this is a common thing that you'll use. It's a common technique to show things which are above or below, because the line work tool can be used to show objects which are above and below. Remember, Revit doesn't automatically always show things which are above the cut plane. In the case of these cabinets, it did show them. But for most things, like those skylights, it doesn't know to show them automatically. So we have to use this following technique. Let's activate this view. I'm on a sheet right now, which is no problem. We're going to activate the view. And now we're going to go to the view properties. And we're going to scroll down to underlay. We're going to change the underlay to top of floor 1. Now that's the level that we're on. That's the level we're showing. But the key here is we want to show the underlay orientation to being the reflected ceiling plan. We can even see the lights that we had dropped in there, those studio lights. So how do we make those lines show up in this particular view? Well, what we can do is use the line work tool, and that's found under modify, and then that's found under view, and then line work. You can also type in LW and click on that. Now the key here is to choose a line style in the ribbon, and I'm going to choose something called overhead, and that is a line style that Revit has, which is standard. And again, it's not necessarily knowing that the object is overhead, but it's classified as overhead, and it has a hidden line or a sort of a dashed line look to it. So let's click on overhead, and now notice it's highlighting things. Now you could click anything. You could click the stair if I wanted and say that's overhead. So you have to be careful and just make sure you click the right lines. So we're just going to click those lines. And it gives us a nice hidden view. I'm careful to get the right things. Good. So are we done? Well, there's a couple things here that are a problem, and that is, well, the underlay, all the other stuff is showing. I don't want to see all that stuff. Well, what you can do now is you can turn off the underlay. So I can go to the view properties. It's just clicking in white space. Underlay, say none. We'll apply that. Now you can see that the only lines that remain from the underlay are those lines that we overrode. At this point, you can see there when I highlight it, the object is still there. It's just completely hidden except for the lines which we overrode. And let's make this clear. If the skylights were to change location, these lines will change location. And that's really your ultimate goal, is to have a model that can react to changes, and you don't really have to do too much in the way of drafting, tweaking after the fact in different views. It will automatically adjust. As I said, the line work tool can work for other things as well. Let's do one more thing and then we'll move on. If I just zoom into this object here, this is showing us some things which are below. And sometimes when you're drawing countertops, maybe you don't want to show certain objects which are below hidden. It depends on your practice. If I click on the line work tool, there's a line type called invisible lines. Again, that's a standard line type. I can click on invisible lines and highlight particular lines. And you may need to use the tab key, but I can highlight an object and say, okay, that's invisible. And that's invisible. So you're turning off certain lines. Now, in the case of this object, it's picking up the whole object for the lines. So there are times when you can get one piece of the line, but right now it's just picking up the entire object. Let's undo that and put that back the way that it was. I'll just do a zoom extents and save. Good.